DNR, so.
Yeah, I'm sure it's coming up in our districts too.
Oh, no, yeah.
The guy had me out there Saturday. It is Washington. He has trees that are ready to fall in.
Got some for you to sign.
So I do have a handful of the public comment slips here. If there's anybody else who would like to address the board during the student public comment time, or anyone from the general public, there's slips in the front of the board, or front of the boardroom to fill out to turn into us before the board meeting starts in a couple minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm in your space. Hey, Bob, Grant County did send me money for mileage.
Yeah, that looks like a bigger group than me.
Yeah, it was.
Unless we get some stragglers, might usually come.
Is that Dinah Schmidt? Sonny Grant?
Larry was here last time.
Gron.
Larry was here last year.
Aaron.
Last Thursday.
I think there's one more.
See these kids. Not know them, no.
All right. I've
you.
got one.
Julia. Got a few minutes?
I've got 145.
145?
Yep.
Hello, I am going to call this meeting of the Waushara County Board of Supervisors to order. We'll have roll call.
Mr. Bonfiglio, Mr. Piaski,
Here.
Mr. Tim, Mr. Cap, Mr. Eckstein,
Here.
Mr. Weddy,
Here.
Mrs. Collada,
Here.
Mr. King,
Here.
Mr. Peterman,
Here.
Mr. Lauer, Mr. Kirschner.
Here.
All right, we'll stand for silent prayer and pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, if you have your cell phones with you at this time, I would ask you to either turn them off or silent them, as board members as well. Thank you. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I so move.
Motion by Supervisor Weddy, second by Supervisor Peterman. Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Approval of the minutes of the April 15th, 2019 monthly meeting. Motion by Supervisor Eckstein, second by Supervisor Piaski. Any questions or comments concerning the minutes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. All right, next we have public comments. And then we will move to unfinished business. We have none. Our new business, we will welcome the Watoma High School to our meeting today. Glad that you all are here. I hope you learned a lot. And hopefully some of you will come back at some point in time and want to work here. So, but we welcome you. It's good to have you here. All right, we'll have an introduction from the County Board of Supervisors. You've seen enough of me for one day. I'm Donna Collada. I represent District 7 in Waushara County. That's Dakota and part of Marion Township. And then I will pass this on to Mr. Piaski.
I'm Mark Piaski. I represent portions of Town of Leon and Town of Poisippi. I retired from the county after 37 years with the Sheriff's Department, and I ran for county board after that. I was elected in April last year. And I serve on the Public Safety Committee, Building and Grounds Committee, Land Information Committee, Land, Water, and Education Committee, Commission on Aging, Highway Traffic Safety, and on the Poisippi Library Board, and on Big Hills Lake, Deer Lake, Kuzel, Wilson, and Round Lake, and Long Lake districts.
Thank you, Mr. Piaski. Mr. Tim?
Hello, my name is Larry Tim. I'm a representative from District 3, which includes the towns of Bloomfield, Saxville, and a portion of the town of Leon. I've been on the board off and on since the early 1990s, way before you guys were born. So it's been a long time, and I've served on many different committees during that time period. Right now, one of the committees I serve on is the Board of Adjustment. You probably wonder what needs adjusting here. It's not the thermostat. Don't adjust salaries. We don't adjust attitudes, although sometimes people get upset with us. The Board of Adjustment is part of zoning, and zoning has many rules and regulations that have to be followed if you're building a new home or adding on to your home or whatever, making some changes. And sometimes the rules are difficult to follow. A lot may be too small, or the lot may be steep in some places, or some parts of it are not usable. And so people come to us and ask for a relaxation of the rules, an exemption from the rules, so that they can build on their properties. We go on and visit the property to see what the situation is, and we hold a hearing so that anybody who's affected by the request can appear and present their side of the case. A lot of times, neighbors are concerned about what their neighbor is doing on their property and whether it affects their properties and so on. So we hold a hearing, and then we have to make a decision as to whether we're going to allow an exemption from the rules or adjustment of the rules or whatever. So that's what we adjust. We adjust the rules for individual people. I also serve on the Buildings and Grounds Committee. I serve on the County Library Committee and the local Pine River Library Board. I also serve on East Central Regional Planning Committee, which is a group of officials from, well, I think about 8 different local counties to discuss problems that affect all of the counties and try to come up with a solution to those problems. Well, welcome to Washington County Courthouse. I hope you enjoy your day. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tim. Mr. Eckstein?
Okay, my name is Everett Eckstein.
Pull your mic down, please, Everett. He's shy.
Last time, too. My name is Everett Eckstein. I represent District 5. That's a north central part of the county. Includes the village of Wild Rose and part of the town of Rose. I've been on the board about 28 years. Committees I serve on are the Public Works, which consists of the Highway and the Parks Committee, the Board of Health, Public Safety, Commission on Aging, Personnel, and I serve on the Patterson Library Board. And it made me feel really good to see that none of you were kneeling during our Pledge of Allegiance.
Thank you, Mr. Eckstein. Supervisor Weddy?
I'm Dennis Weddy. Excuse me. I represent the citizens of District 6 of the county. District 6 is composed of Wards 1 and 2 in the town of Marion, which would be the eastern half of that township, Wards 1 and 2 in the town of Mount Morris, which is the entire township, and Ward 3 of the town of Wautoma, which is the northeast corner of it. There are about 2,200 citizens living in the district. Now, if one of the board members here were to pass away or move out of the district or something like that, our county, along with the state statutes, has a succession plan that's followed in order to fill the unfilled or uncompleted term of one of the supervisors. And it is up to the county board chair, in this case, Chair Kalata, to appoint someone from that district and bring that name to the rest of the county board. And if that happens, then that person only gets accepted by a majority vote of the county board. So we do have a succession plan in case there are vacancies, and there have been in the past. There have been resignations, there have been people passing away, and so on. Now, I first ran for Washera County Board as a write-in in the year 2000, when I finished up my career as a teacher. I taught in the Wautoma district the last 33 years of my teaching career. Prior to that, Wild Rose and Adams County. And I've served on this board now for 19 years. As responsible county officials, we're faced with a challenging task of understanding various county issues and implementing very complex programs and services. And this has to be done in a way to best meet the needs of the taxpayers, and because we have just limited funds to use. In addition to serving as second vice chair on this board, I serve on several committees and boards as well. They are the Administrative Review Board, the Executive Committee, the Human Services Board, which I chair, the Public Works Board, which includes Parks, Solid Waste, and Highway, the Transportation Coordinating Committee, the Aging and Disability Resource Center of Adams, Green Lake, and Washera counties, the CAP Services Board, which serves Marquette, Outagamie, Portage, Wapaka, and Washera counties, and I also chair the Regional Comprehensive Community Service Committee, which serves Juneau, Adams, Wapaka, Washera, Marquette, and Green Lake counties. So it's busy. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Waddy. Supervisor King.
Hello, my name is Patrick King. I serve the District 8, which encompasses the city of Wautoma. I've been on the board for approximately 7 years, and I'm on the Board of Health, Human Service Board, Land, Water, and Education Committee, Library Board for the city of Wautoma, Planning and Zoning Committee, CAP Service Board, and Planning and Evaluation Committee, TIF District Representative for the county. I also serve on water lake management districts of Lake Alpine, Lake Irrigami, Johns Lake, and Little Hills Lake. I'm also a representative alderman for the city of Wautoma. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you, Mr. King. Supervisor Peterman.
Hi, name's George Peterman. I serve District 9 in Washera County, and that is the town of Deerfield, Wautoma, and Richford. All Deerfield, parts of Wautoma, parts of Richford. Committees that I'm assigned to are the LWE Committee, which is Louis, Land, Water, Education, as you remember from your stop in zoning, Planning and Zoning, Buildings and Grounds, the Washera County Library Committee, Winnifox, and I also serve on 4 different lake committees, lake association committees, and the Hancock Library Committee. This is my first year. I was elected last April, and so it's quite a learning curve once you get into county government, especially an elected position. But you know, yeah, so far it's been an enjoyable experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peterman. Mr. Kirschner.
My name is Mark Kirschner from over Coloma. I've been on the county board here for 18 years. Town chairman for the town of Coloma for 38 years. I represent the town of Coloma, village of Coloma, town of Hancock, village of Hancock, and a small portion of Richford that that George doesn't cover. The boards I serve on, Public Safety, Executive, Personnel, Buildings and Grounds, Highway, Library Board, and Coloma. It's been quite an experience being on the board here. I came on the board, filled out a term for one person, was asked to fill out the 1 year, and then after that, was talked into running by a friend to continue running. So, and she's smiling up there right now, so you know who it was. Other than that, glad to see all of you here. We don't have a full courtroom like this, or a boardroom, I should say, like this ever. So it's kind of neat to see all of you here. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kirschner. And I might add, my committees include Executive, Public Safety, Public Works, Personnel, Buildings and Grounds, Plainfield Library, and I'm missing some. I do East Central Planning, also Fox Valley Workforce Development, and I'm sure I'm missing something, but it's okay, right? And the other thing, I fill in on committees if there's a chance that there's not going to be a quorum present, then they call me and I go and fill in on those committees as well. So I get around a lot. I've been on the board probably 22 years, maybe 23 now. I didn't intend to be here this long, but found that I really enjoyed it. I'm sure that you all see that there's a lot of activity that goes into running the government, and but this is very enjoyable. You know, the more you're around it, the more you enjoy it. So, and I also would like to mention that Waushara County has 14 parks and 9 solid waste sites that are managed and maintained by our very efficient Parks and Solid Waste Department. They aren't right here, you know, they're based out by the Highway Department, so that's probably why you didn't see them today. So, all right, thank you very much. Next, we'll go to public comments and questions from the students. And our first question is from Dinah Schmidt. Would you like to come up to the microphone and ask your question? Good. Okay, we're ready.
What is the toughest decision you have ever had to make as a county board supervisor?
Someone want to get that? You want me to go? One of the toughest that we've made, always spending money is a tough decision. And we were faced with needing a new jail and sheriff's department, and a lot of thought and a lot of study and a lot of conversation went into making that decision. Since then, we've had to make more decisions like that, but you never do it without a lot of thought and a lot of back and forth, because, you know, to say, okay, I believe we spent $8 million on the jail and the sheriff's department, you know, that's hard to do. So that was one of the big things for me. Does anyone else have something? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate the question. Sunny Grand? If I mispronounce your name, I'm really sorry.
I have 2 questions. What kind of time commitment do you guys have with being on the board?
I can answer a little of that. I think quite a bit of time commitment. Actually, this board, as a board, meets once a month. Normally, it's a 7 o'clock meeting, lasts about an hour and a half to 2 hours. The reason why it only lasts that long is most of the work is done in committees, and those committees report to the board or whatever that they have to do. It all depends on if you're called out of, if your meeting is out of town, like for example, Wednesday evening, I've got meetings in Stevens Point. So that'll be a long commitment. I will leave Wautoma here at probably 4 and get back about 10 that night. And it's a long time. And so time commitment, it varies. I think probably most officials here probably have 6 to 8 committee meetings per month. So there's quite a bit of time commitment. And most of those meetings are day meetings, so.
You answered my other question, which was how often do you guys have meetings? Which is, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Okay, Evan Gruska, would you like to come up?
So, the question that I had for just any of you in general is, what is one of the most challenging moments any of you have faced either in your time as a board member or with the county committees?
Could you repeat that, please?
What is one of the most challenging moments any of you have faced either in your time as a board member or with the county committees?
I think it
Go
was
ahead.
quite a challenge, to answer your question, when we went from 21 to 11 board members. There was a lot of controversy over that. We were a 21 board member before, we went to 11, and that was, there was quite a little debate about that. I would say that was probably one of the toughest ones.
Thank you, Mark. Anyone else?
The ironic part of that was when we brought up the idea of having to reduce the board, it came up before the county board. And it lost by one vote to reduce it only to 17, I think it was. And so then it went to a referendum. And there were 4 board members on this board at the time. It really pushed to get the board reduced to 11, thinking they were going to save a ton of money, which didn't happen. But ironically, all 4 of those were beaten by the rest of us. So we had to run against them in the election in the spring. And so I thought that was pretty ironic that the people that pushed so hard to get it reduced reduced themselves right out of a job.
One of the tough parts of that also was the fact that we had to run against some very good board members and people, friends of ours, and that was not the easiest thing in the world.
Oh, no.
I think another instance was when, we're always watching the budget and trying to live within our means, per se. And we had considered closing one of the collection sites. And oh my gosh, we had no idea how much people like their collection sites until we talked about that. We all got a lot of calls, and of course, we didn't close the collection site, but people kind of, they take things for granted until it is something that affects them, and then you hear from people. And that's always good, to know what they're thinking and what they want out of their county government. So, anyone else? Thank you, Evan.
Thank you.
All right, next we have Katie Henriquez. Hi, Katie.
Hi. Okay, I have one question. What accomplishment are you most proud of?
Someone want to take that?
I think as a new board member, the biggest accomplishment so far was getting elected. Because, and truly, you need to, convince people of, who you are, what you stand for, what your principles are, what plans you have moving forward, and you keep your fingers crossed that that's aligned with most of the people in my case in District 9, and that they also see the same vision that I do. And so when I was able to get elected to the county board, obviously that was a big stepping stone in just sort of being a part of what I saw for the future of the county.
Thank you, Mr. Peterman. Another thing I'll add to that is I'm very proud that this county board has been able to keep a lid on our budget and not spend more than we have, because it's not always easy to offer all the services that that our constituents want and still stay within the budget. That's not easy, but so far knock on wood, I usually do this, we've been able to manage that. It's getting harder and harder, though, I will tell you that.
Can I
Mr.
add
Eckstein?
something?
Yes.
One of the biggest problems concerning that is are the unfunded mandates that we get from the state. They will say, do this and do that, and it'll cost a tremendous amount. Usually it has something to do with the jail as far as whether you've got the cameras or you've got this or you've got that, where they have to update the radios, but they're unfunded, so we have to do it, but it costs a tremendous amount of money. And so that's something we're fighting all the time.
Thank you, Mr. Eckstein. Anyone else? Okay, thank you very much. Next, we have Noah Grimm.
Why did you decide to run for county board supervisor?
Somebody want to take that?
I will.
Okay.
I decided, when we moved out to Mount Morris from Watoma here, I'd been on the city council here and served as council president for Watoma, and I started to enjoy government. And my background in education was social studies, so I did know a little bit about government. And when we got out to Mount Morris, I decided, maybe I'd like to get on the county board. I waited till I was retiring from teaching because I knew the time commitment would be insurmountable. You can't really walk out of class to come to a committee meeting. The kids get a little bit rowdy when you do that. You probably know about that, right, Noah? So that's why there's really something to do that I'd really enjoy and to give back to the community.
Thank you. And the reason I ran was, there was a very nice lady that was representing my district, but I thought I could do it better. So that's why I ran. Thank you. And she was a very nice lady. Thank you, Noah. Next, we have Julia Kapp.
Hello.
Hi.
What was the hardest problem that you had to have a solution to? For any of you.
Yeah, go ahead, Dennis.
Hate to do all the talking, but quite a while ago, when we still had 21 members on the board, we had a separate committee for EMS committee, and I was the chair of that committee. And there was talk that the eastern part of the county was going to lose their representation with an ambulance and so on. And we knew there was going to be a lot of controversy over that. And instead of having the committee meeting in Watoma, we had it at the fire hall in Poisippi. And if you think this was a big crowd, we had a really big crowd. And I was kind of nervous about that, having to run that meeting. And of course, everybody wanted to talk. And I had to limit that to a few people to speak. And we had to, I shouldn't say we had to, we chose to be sure that that area of the county had good representation and good coverage by the EMS department as well, because everybody in the county pays taxes and everybody should have the same amounts of coverage for health purposes.
Anyone else? Thank you, Julia. All right, next we are going to go to reports and presentations, and that would be County Administrator's monthly report. Administrator Robert Civic.
If I could just go out of order, I noticed that Supervisor Kapp came in a little late. Perhaps he might want to introduce himself and list the committees he's on.
I'm on, I think 6 of them altogether.
Pull your mic down.
I'm on like 6 different committees, and I'm the chairman of 3 of them, which is not as much fun as everybody would think it would be. And I just enjoy it because of the people that are on the committees. It's not that I'm on the committee and doing stuff, it's the people that are on the committees that are along with me. And it's like everybody's having a cake party all the time and everything, because
we all work together and everything seems to fold up into the right direction, and it's just a fun feeling, and I would recommend anybody to try and get on the board if they can.
Thank you. Madam Chair, members of the Board of Supervisors, and most of all to our guests from Watoma High School. Again, I know we've spoken an hour ago. I'm directing this to the students. My name is Bob Civic. I am the county administrator. In effect, my role here is to manage the county day to day. The Board of Supervisors is to make, their role is to make policy. The most important role that this Board of Supervisors have is, as you've heard from several of the members, is the power of the purse. They collect taxes and they decide where that money will be spent, and those are very difficult decisions. Every month I give a report, and I gave a report earlier this month when we had students from the other two high schools in the district, but just to update a few things. Members of the board, about an hour ago I spoke to the students and I emphasized that today is not just County Government Day, it's Earth Day, and I listed all the ways that our Land Conservation and Zoning Department takes action here on the county level to preserve our natural resources. Most of the attention is usually at the national, international level, but here in Waushara County we do care about the environment and about sustainability of water and soil, and we are very active in that. I know that staff, not just from my department, but again from Land Conservation and Zoning, has a very good relationship with the Watershed Lakes Council. Mrs. Collada and I, about a week ago, were in Dodge County on this county works with other counties. One of the groups that we're involved with is the Inter-County Coordinating Committee. That's a group of 7 central Wisconsin counties. And we had a presentation from a farmer in Dodge County about the outreach that they have with lake owners over environmental issues. For those of you who may have family in agriculture, you know that there is some conflict between agriculture's use of water and chemical fertilizers and people who live around our beautiful lakes with regard to use of the water or chemicals that may work their way into the water table. In Dodge County, we saw what they did as far as maintaining or creating communication and maintaining it, and we probably will replicate that here. As I tell people, I don't have a lot of original ideas, but I know when someone else has a good idea, and I'm not too proud to steal it from them. So that's one of the things we will be working on. I also wanted to touch base. You heard from a number of, or at least from Supervisor Eckstein, one of the issues that we have here with money, with a limited tax base and with the price tag of services increasing every year far beyond the rate of inflation, is a lot of that is driven by unfunded mandates, as Supervisor Eckstein said, and those unfunded mandates come mainly from Madison, from state government, sometimes occasionally come from the federal government, Washington, D.C. One of the things that we're doing here, not just the staff, but the supervisors, who we all work for you, is we're being more proactive in responding to those issues, demanding a seat at the table to be able to influence and perhaps even drive public policy in Madison and even in Washington, to let those folks know that it's very easy to sit in an office in Madison or one in Washington and decide that all the counties will do this. We educate them on what real fiscal impact that has on our budget, but also how it impacts all of you. Because if we're spending money on something that they're directing us to do so, it may mean that the level of service or the quality of service is diminished. So we've been doing that. One of the things that we've been doing is, and I don't want to get too deep and bore you to death, but we're looking at the utility tax formula for distributing. Utilities don't actually pay taxes, they make payments in lieu of taxes, but the distribution of that that's been mainly going over the last few decades to the state government, whereas it should have been going to county government and local government all along, because utilities make those payments to compensate local government for the infrastructure, for the repairs that we do, for what we do as far as if there's a disaster, and I'm not just talking about a natural, big natural disaster, but the day-to-day things such as an ice storm that may take down lines, and how we're out there plowing roads and keeping them in good shape so the utilities can provide service to you. That's one of the things we're doing. Another thing we're doing is we're weighing in on the criminal justice issues. I know you met some of the folks in the justice system earlier today. They probably told you that we are grossly understaffed here in our justice system, both in terms of judges and prosecutors. There are some bills in the legislature that are addressing that, and this county and our sister counties have been pushing very hard for that, because it's one thing to be in Madison, again, to limit the number of judges and assistant district attorneys, but it impacts you in your home and in other places throughout Wisconsin, so we've been addressing that as well. Another thing that we've been addressing is less than a year from now, the decennial United States Census will take place. That's done every 10 years, and it's a count of all the people residing in the United States. And we are taking action to make sure that we count everyone involved, everyone who lives in Waushara County. That's not just to give the Census Bureau accurate data, but it's also because it involves, again, it's the recurring theme, it comes back to money. The supervisors have heard me say this, but I'm going to say this to all of you, and I'd like you to spread the word. For every person that's counted in the United States Census, that represents approximately $2,500 in annual spending by the United States government. So even if we undercount 100 people in this county, that will reduce the level of federal spending in Waushara County by $250,000. And $250,000 may not be much in New York or Los Angeles or Chicago, but it is a heck of a lot of money here. So we are pulling out all the stops to make sure that everyone who resides in Waushara County is counted. Lastly, one of the things I often do is I talk about upcoming events, and that's not just for the Board of Supervisors, but for those of you in the audience, our guests. We will have, on Wednesday, May 1st, will be the drug court graduation in the circuit courtroom. For those of you who don't know, I'm sure they probably touched on this, but the drug court is an alternative to the criminal justice system to help people with substance abuse problems. That's a large problem here and elsewhere throughout the country, and Waushara County supports that greatly, not just in terms that it does save money, but also because we care about our neighbors and we want them to be productive citizens, and we want them to live long and fulfilling lives. The other thing is Saturday, May 4th is Family Safety Day right here on the courthouse campus. If you or your families or people that you know, please encourage them to come here. We'll have a number of giveaways, bicycles, safety helmets, firearms trigger locks. There'll also be some educational and some fun activities as well. So please talk that up. Again, that's Saturday, May 4th from, I believe it's 9 a.m. to noon. Are you sure? I think it's 9 a.m. to noon. That will take place here on the courthouse campus. Lastly, I'm going to put in a plug for our very own Supervisor Eckstein. He will be headlining our regular Lunch and Learn series here in the demonstration room. That's the basement room where you ate lunch. His presentation will be on square foot gardening. So Everett, I will be down there learning how to raise my own food so I can save some money. But that's all I have. I do want to make one final comment to piggyback on what Supervisor Kirschner said. For the most part, these meetings don't have a lot of people present. That's not necessarily because the public doesn't care. One of the things I tell the department directors who answer to me is if I'm paying a lot of attention to you, that's probably not good news. And the public doesn't often show up at these meetings because the services we provide more or less regularly and without a lot of hiccups and problems, and that's good that the public does not necessarily always come down here, because when they do come down here, it's usually because they're upset about something. So I would say if this was a regular meeting and I saw a full room such as we have today, I'd probably be sweating a little bit, but I'm not worried about it today because I know you're all friendly people. So thank you. That's all I have, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Civic. I think I forgot, I'm sorry, I missed, this is our Corporation Counsel, Rusowski. Did you meet with the kids? So you know pretty much what she does. Her other job, of course, is to make sure that we're all following the law, and if we start to do something that we're not supposed to, we get a very pointed look. And so, so she keeps us all in line. Thank you, Ruth. We appreciate that. Now, moving along, we have consideration and possible action on the following ordinances. The first one is ordinance number 636, an ordinance creating a slow, no-wake speed during certain times on the Fox River. A motion by Supervisor Eckstein.
I'll
And a
second.
second by Supervisor Piaski. Do you have any questions or comments?
I just want to just make sure, because a lot of us that are on Lake Township type committees, getting a lot of questions about no wake. And I just want to make sure that it's understood that there's a state statute that sort of governs streams and rivers, whereas lakes are not included in that same statute.
That is correct. As you all know, the county can only address things that the state allows us to address. And there is a specific statute that says that the county can address rivers and streams within their jurisdictional boundaries, but we don't have the same authority over lakes. So that would have to go through lake management districts and those type of entities.
Yeah, I just was envisioning this hitting the news and getting a flood of calls from lake associations as well, looking for guidance.
Okay, well, this one is specifically for the Fox
Right,
River.
yep.
Pardon me, Ruth, that also goes through town boards also, I believe.
Correct,
Yeah,
yep.
yep.
All right, any other questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next, we have ordinance number 637, an ordinance amending Washera County Code, Chapter 14, Article 2, Emergency Management. Motion by Supervisor Kirschner,
I'll second.
second by Supervisor Peterman. Are there any questions or comments concerning this ordinance? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. And I might add that the supervisors get these ordinances ahead of time, so they have a chance to read through them and they know what it's all about. Next, we have appointments, and this is the Transportation Coordinating Committee. Michelle Dreskovich, Watoma. These terms are all from May 2019 through May 2022. Robert Holzman, Watoma. William Rosenau, Watoma. And Pat Warren, Watoma. Motion by Supervisor Eckstein, second by Supervisor King. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next, we have proclamations. The first recognizing May 12th through 18th, 2019 as National Police Week, and May 15th, 2019 as Peace Officers Memorial Day.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Supervisor Weddy to approve.
I'll second.
Second by Supervisor Peterman. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next, we have a proclamation recognizing May 5th through the 11th, 2019 as Correctional Officers Week.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Motion by Supervisor Peterman, second by Supervisor Piaski. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next, designating May 2019 as Older Americans Month. Motion by Supervisor Cap, second by Supervisor Eckstein. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, next, and we're almost done, kids. Mr. Civic has budgeted for 2 county board members to attend the 2019 NACO Conference and Exposition. That's being held July 12th through the 15th in Las Vegas, Nevada. If you're interested in attending, please let me know. You know, your registration would be paid for, your airfare and your hotel. If you took anyone along with you, such as your spouse, you would be responsible for the airfare for them. So, done. Okay.
And Las Vegas in July, I understand, is lovely.
Yeah, right. Sure it is.
Let me go to Las Vegas by myself.
Okay, board suggestions for future agenda items? Right.
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Supervisor Eckstein to adjourn, second by Supervisor Tim. We're adjourned. Thank you all for coming.
Okay.
Okay.
No, I was worried about
Tardy.
the term.
Here I go.
I has been gone for 3 weeks. Long story.
Well, I know
If there's any meetings or anything, please let me so I know. 3 weeks time, I'll do one single time. I started this week to get,
Oh, okay.
to see if we had anything this
All right,
week.
well, no termites.
I was sick on the 6th.
So now, what was
I don't know.
And Marie.
She wasn't there. So I'm up at frickin' Stevens Point. I went up to
well, there's a bunch of them.
thing this morning.
Yes, I may.
I was supposed to stay for this afternoon. I had enough of this one. So I left and I came down here, and for some reason I went in downstairs. This is, it's going on right now. I said, well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, there were some good questions there.
I thought there were two.
Your tablet hasn't been working? Same time.
No, because I don't have a Wi-Fi.
Ta-da.